Welcome back, everyone. It's 2023, and I'm here with Meital to give you our legal predictions of the year.
2023, we're going to see some new developments in some really key areas, but a lot will stay the same, at least from a federal perspective, in my opinion.
Yeah, I don't see much happening on a federal level. Maybe one of the safe banking acts or something could be pushed through, but I'm not too hopeful about that myself.
Yeah, I think hopefully we'll see some progress, right? In 2022, we had this whole thing where Biden kind of indicated reform in his statement where he pardoned the folks that were, convicted of a federal cannabis offense. And then, he asked, the government to review the scheduling of cannabis. So that was kind of one of the hugest thing that happened. And so we'll see. I hope to see some actual progress there. I feel like we've already seen some.
Yeah, we've definitely seen progress. Again, Biden made history, whether we like it or not. All he had to do was the minimum, and he did it. So we'll see what's happening. Hopefully, I did hear that the FDA might start regulating cannabis, which is very scary because if that happens, what happens to the industry?
Yeah, I think the FDA is going to start looking at more at CBD for cosmetics and doing a review through the FDA. But it remains to be seen what that really looks like and how long that takes.
Sorry.
No worries. No worries.
A little blooper reel.
What other predictions do you have for 2023?
Gosh, I think in 2023, we're going to have a new star in the cannabis industry.
Really?
Yes. I think that it's time for a new cannabinoid to take the world by storm. I think Delta 8 had its year. A couple of years, CBD had its shine. And now I think it's CBN.
CBN coming to you. I don't know. I feel like CBN's been around for a while.
I think for us in the industry, we know all about it. But for the casual consumer or people who don't live in a legal state, I'm not sure they know too much about it.
Well, there was the CBN, the CBG, the THCA. THCV. I think the appeal of Delta 8 was obviously that it was not federally illegal. Maybe it was, maybe it wasn't.
Yeah.
But I think you're right. I think that every year we will see a new sort of trendy cannabinoid.
For sure.
Yeah. That's funny. It's funny as we get deeper into history with cannabis, we can kind of now start to see some trends. I feel like that wild, wild west, it still exists, but we've been living in it for a while. So we kind of know. Yeah. I mean, obviously predictions are just speculative and fun. But
yes. They're just fun. So what predictions do you have? What other predictions do you have?
Well, we've already seen, we're in the second week of January and we've already seen a lot of more states come online. So I think we're going to see that just domino continue to go. Minnesota, Texas.
What?
I really want to see Texas. They're expanding their medical program.
Texas, every state that borders Texas has some kind of program. They're just kind of sitting on an island by themselves. And not really budging, but it would be nice to see them in 2023 because they're losing a lot of revenue because Oklahoma is just right down I-35 and they also have casinos. So you're losing a lot of tourists to casinos and cannabis. I would love to see the state of Texas expand. But speaking of legalization, one of my predictions is you're going to see less advocacy and reformers pushing initiatives and more so companies going towards the lobbyist and legalization route for their own self-interest.
Yeah, I think that's been a trend, an upward trend for a while, and I agree we'll continue to see that. The federal legalization topic is such a hot topic, and so many people are interested and have their own individual interests. So definitely we're going to see some push there.
Yeah, it's kind of... it hurts because the advocates and reformers, for the most part, were for the patients and the people.
Right.
And now, it's kind of more so for the profit. So, sad day.
Yeah, it's getting closer to big business for sure. Yeah.
Absolutely.
It's interesting because in California, because there is no market caps, really. We really don't see the MSOs still too much here, do we? Unless they're homegrown in Cali, we don't really see a lot of the MSOs. So I think one of my other predictions, what I saw in the second part of last year, and I think we're going to continue to see this year, is just market consolidation. Like, I've never seen so much reshuffling as to, okay, I have 7 licenses. I'm gonna get rid of half of them, and I'm gonna focus on, I think that for a large portion of California's legalization, it's been all about like gobble up as much as you can as a business. And now we're seeing, okay, we are way over leveraged and we need to really focus on what is going to improve our bottom line. Yeah. So that's been really interesting and fun to be a part of, just watching all those companies, kind of restructure.
Yeah. That's awesome. You do have an interesting perspective being on the legal side and working directly with companies and seeing how the legislation and the market is affecting them directly. Yeah. So I love that you have that overview for so many different types of companies as well.
Yeah, it's really fun to and then to fit the compliance piece into all of it. So all of these businesses, as they're buying and selling, there's a bunch of compliance and, stuff that people probably don't care about except for me, but it's fun to make it all fit together like a puzzle.
Amazing. So one of my predictions for 2023 is the hemp boom. We did have the 2018 Farm Bill that was passed, and that kind of made industrial hemp a thing in America. And I think with the new Farm Bill that is going to be coming down this year, there's going to be an even greater expansion. And I think the hemp industry is going to really take off.
I hope so. I feel like hemp had all this sort of growth, and then it kind of felt like it flopped a little bit, or plateaued. There was overproduction. There were all these issues. So it would be nice to see that resurgence. I feel like, it was interesting to observe. It's interesting to sort of see the tracks of the hemp industry as compared to the cannabis industry and how those markets actually differ, even though they're the same freaking plant.
Yeah, so in my book club, we're reading a book called The Marijuana Hater's Guide to Making $1 billion in Hemp. That's the title of the book.
I need that book. That's so funny.
It is so good. But the author, he's like he grew up conservative. He's Republican. He's an entrepreneur, but he always thought that cannabis was some like evil thing that kills people until he did his own research, and then he wrote this book. So he really does a great job of breaking down what cannabis is compared to hemp, compared to marijuana. And to me, I'm like, it's all the same. And to everyone in cannabis, it's all the same. But to the outside world, they hear those 3 different words and they do assume that they're 3 different things.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, to us it's the same, but gosh, I totally recommend this book if you want to look for a cannabis book, or you're looking for a book to get into for hemp, or if you want to read with some cool stoners.
The Marijuana Hater's Guide.
Yes, to making $1 billion in hemp.
But did he make $1 billion?
He is a real estate investor, so I'm assuming like he's very much he's on his way.
Okay, well, great. I'll check it out. Yeah. I have another prediction. Okay. I think that New York is going to have a tough year. Okay. I think that New York is exciting. Everyone wants to be a part of it. Yeah. But when rubber meets the road and they need to actually make this all work, I think it's going to be tough, especially and mostly because of the unlicensed market. You're going to see California 2.0 with an unlicensed market just being able to run rampant. I think the only saving grace, New York is when it comes to enforcement, I feel like New York is a little more serious than California. So maybe they'll be more effective. But I think just the speakeasies and the lounges, the clandestine sort of operations is just, it's whack-a-mole. It's impossible to track. And, they wanted to open up the market. So they kind of put a moratorium on enforcement, but they created this gray market. And, yeah.
I mean, I wish it could be so easy. It's so complicated. There's got to be some kind of way to be creative and address how we're addressing cannabis. Because,
you mean like from a legislative perspective?
Yeah, I feel like we overcomplicate it.
Yeah, that's pretty much like, yes.
There's too many people in New York to kind of go in with how they're trying to do it. It's going to take forever. There's not enough manpower. There's not enough budget. There's not enough resources to really kind of figure that situation out. So yeah, we're going to be watching another California.
I think what happens too, as we're talking about this, I'm just even thinking about it. I think what happens too is that when you've got a whole new market coming online, everybody sort of says like, I want a piece of that.
Yes.
You know? And so in order to get it through, everybody has to get their piece.
Yes.
And then you're kind of just stuck where you have like, you're trying to raise money, you're trying to make social justice reform, you're trying to be compliant, give preferences to residents,
right.
You know, like all these different things. You're trying to boost all these different like sort of social aspects, which are honorable and great, and I support them. At the same time, it just creates this tightrope.
Yeah, I agree.
Which is, I think, macro level what we're seeing at the federal.
Yeah, for
level.
sure.
Yeah.
So New York will definitely be something to watch in the mess that it's going to be.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep. What else? What other predictions do we have?
Ooh, I have a scary prediction. And this, as an advocate, I have to speak on it. But I do believe in 2023, the number of children that accidentally get into edibles or drinkables is going to continue to rise. And I think we need to have an honest conversation about that. And, you know, storage responsibility. You never think it's going to happen to you or your family or your child until it does. And it's such a scary moment for a mother. Like when your child is distressed or in some kind of harm, like what you feel, you can't even describe it. Like, I don't know a greater pain than seeing my child suffer or hurt. So a lot of parents are taking their children to hospitals because they're scared, rightfully so. But there is a good chance that you may not come across a non-judgmental staff.
Yeah, I mean, I think my hope is that by and large at the ER, if a kid does get into edible, like you should take your kid to the doctor, right? I think. It's hard because as an advocate, anytime you see any of those stories, you're sort of like, you don't want to like acknowledge that it is a bad side effect of legalization, but it's happening and it's true. So storage is really important. You know, that's another issue with products being bought off the illicit market is that they're not subject to the same scrutiny for packaging. Right. So I would say if you're a parent and you do live in a legal state, you know, get your edibles from a licensed facility so that it's properly packaged. Because the child packaging, if you're closing, I mean, it takes me, I'm sitting there, you know.
Listen, I was struggling with a piece of packaging that I got for Christmas through like my Christmas PR, and my daughter opened it for me.
Wow.
I could not for the life of me get it open.
Stop. Oh my gosh. I don't know what that says about you or about
this
the packaging.
Little tin can was too.
Oh, the ones that you have to.
Oh my gosh. Some of those are hit or miss.
Yeah, some of them don't even work.
At all. And this one did not work. But for her, it was like, boop.
Oh, that's scary.
I was like, wow.
What about the little Ziploc ones?
I don't know if kids can figure those out.
Those are very complicated.
Yeah, those can be complicated. Some of them you have to like zip, like you have to press down and slide your finger. It's so weird. Yeah, the packaging it's ridiculous because I remember my 2-year-old niece drinking a Mike's Hard Lemonade, and there's no childproof packaging on that.
Oh my gosh, that's funny.
It's not resealable either. Once that lid comes off, it's off, and then I'm like a teenager. And she's just like chilling and relaxing. And when I found out what had happened, I was like, oh my gosh, how much did she drink? Like,
which is potentially way more harmful.
Correct.
Yeah.
But we're not in this like huge, oh my gosh, the youth drinking rate. Like so many people, their first drink came from their house.
Sure.
Yeah. From their parent's stash.
Yeah.
Or somebody's parent's stash.
Right.
So we have to know that that's going to happen with cannabis. And then if it looks like a gummy or candy or a cookie or a brownie, please know that your child is going to get into that. Taking to them to the hospital, that is a personal decision depending on where you live. In a place like California, you're probably fine.
Right.
In a place like Texas, they will call CPS.
Yeah, definitely.
You will have your child taken away.
Right.
That is very traumatizing. At that point, your best bet is to stay home, make sure they're comfortable and hydrated, and just know that they are going to sleep.
But what about, like, you don't know what it is that they got into?
Yeah, that's another thing. Like, gosh, that's the part that's scary.
You know, like, it's kind of like, yeah, they got into maybe you don't know what they got into. Maybe they got into something, I don't know, something else too. But yeah, obviously.
And for your pets. Like the dog videos when they get into the candy is so funny, but it's also so sad at the same time.
Oh my gosh, I'll never forget. One of my colleagues at the time had a dog that got into the edibles, and he looked like he was on a boat. Like the way he was just like swaying back and forth.
Oh my God.
Yeah, like he can't get his like bearings. Oh my God, so bad.
It's so cute, but it's so bad. So yeah, protect your animals, protect your kids, protect your family, because CPS can get involved. And if CPS gets involved, it is going to be a very difficult process for everyone involved.
Yeah, there was that video of that woman who, you know, before giving birth, she told the personnel in some way that she had ingested cannabis, not even while she was pregnant. I guess she made some declaration that she's smoked cannabis before. And they took that to like the 10th level and tested the child for, you know, for cannabis or other drugs. You know, different hospital personnel will respond differently, but I think that's one of the most dangerous points of talking about cannabis is when you're about to give birth. Like that is when you really
don't admit it. Oh, I just duetted a woman on TikTok who admitted to drug use in college, which was like years and years ago. She's having her baby, admits to smoking weed in college, and CPS came in and had to test her and test her baby.
Yeah.
And it was just crazy. Do not admit any of that. I know you want to be honest. And maybe it hurts in your heart to be a liar, but I need you to lie. They're probably going to test you anyway. In some states, you automatically get drug tested.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
Oh, yeah. So some of those southern states, yeah.
Oh, damn.
Mom and baby is getting tested. No need to no informed consent.
Really?
Type of situation. Yeah. Some of the laws around women in cannabis is insane. Now, if you were prescribed opiates and that baby has a opiate withdrawal, totally fine. You had a prescription. You were allowed to do it.
Oh, wow.
But if a mother chooses to use cannabis for her medicine, for her epilepsy, for her pain, for her nausea, for her moods, that could like ruin the baby's life. That skin to skin contact can be interrupted, and those first few days of bonding is interrupted, all because of consumption. So you have to look into your state and be very, very careful.
Yeah, that's good advice.
Yeah.
What do you think? Flipping it around, what do you think about 2022? What were some like big cannabis events in 2022?
Gosh, cannabis events in 2022. We saw a lot of states legalize.
Yeah.
Or potentially. We had the Dakotas, both Missouri. Gosh, I can't remember them all off the top of my head. But we had a lot of states that were able to legalize.
There were a lot of states that legalized. New York, obviously, was a big one. What else was big in 2022? I feel like
we saw Diddy enter the cannabis industry in 2022. It'll be interesting to see what happens there.
Yeah, you were saying that you think there's going to be more celebrity brands.
I do think there's going to be a lot more celebrity brands on the horizon right now. We have Lil Wayne, Snoop Dogg, Drake. Those are really big people who are coming in. And again, Diddy has entered the industry. So Wiz seems to be doing really well. Wiz Khalifa seems to be doing really well with Kush Khalifa across the nation. So it'll be interesting to see what other players enter the market and how that moves, because typically in California, celebrity didn't mean much. It's really, cannabis connoisseurs, and they just want really
What about women? Are there any women cannabis brands? I mean, like cannabis celebrity brands? I feel like we mostly see men, no?
Yeah, that's very true. I guess we'll have to see. But I'd love to see Rihanna with one.
Oh my gosh. She just makes too much otherwise. Like, she doesn't need it.
I mean, she absolutely could do it. She has her hand in everything. Makeup, fashion. Now she's a mother.
Yeah.
Skincare, music.
Okay.
Yeah, she's a whole vibe.
Okay, so I have our top 5 here.
Okay.
From last year. California. Oh, we talked about the California. Okay, this is something that I think we're going to see in 2023 too, is increase so we've been focusing so much on regulations for the businesses. The consumer rights, I think, is an area where we're going to see more progress in 2023.
Okay.
Like, just from 2022, what California did with, employment, parental rights. I think that's really where we need to see progress across the country, and hopefully we'll see more.
Yeah. Let California be a case study now that parents know they won't lose their children.
Right.
Yeah.
So there were 4 states last year, which you said, so there was new medical ones. There was Mississippi, and then adult use, Rhode Island, Missouri, Maryland. So that was interesting. Then we talked about the federal cannabis reform, lawsuits arising out of New York. That was really interesting. Did you follow it all, that whole dormant commerce clause thing?
I did not. Educate me.
Yeah, it's interesting because now they're saying that these states that have rules for licensing that prohibit other residents of other states are unconstitutional.
Okay.
So a federal court is looking at a cannabis law to decide whether it's constitutional or not when cannabis is illegal federally.
Gosh, how do you interpret that?
Isn't that so interesting? Like, that's why I love practicing in this area. So in federal law, cannabis is illegal.
Correct.
But the federal court is deciding whether a certain cannabis law is constitutional.
Yeah, the hypocrisy there. I mean, do you think they'll actually go through with it?
They did. They made a decision. So the rule says, so in New York, it was a rule that said basically if you did not do business in New York currently, or were not a current New York resident, I don't remember the exact detail, then you couldn't apply for the license. And this happened also in Maine. It happened in Washington. And all the federal courts are ruling that if you have that part of the law for the licenses, it's unconstitutional. It violates the dormant commerce clause.
Okay.
So it's just really interesting, though, that all these federal courts, appeal courts, are making decisions on whether cannabis laws in various states are constitutional.
That's insane.
I know.
I mean, something has to be done about that too.
Yeah. But it's an interesting concept. Like, basically, it's forbidding other state residents from participating in the market, and that is a violation of the dormant commerce clause, which says that you cannot prohibit other state residents from doing business in your state.
Correct. United States of America.
Right. So, but then interstate commerce is illegal.
The irony.
I just find it so interesting. There's all treatises online about it. You can read about it. It's such an interesting concept.
Oh, yeah.
And then the city of LA had to battle that same issue because the guy from New York, he also filed a suit in another state, and he came and he filed in LA too. So it's the same.
Oh, wow.
It's so interesting. Yeah.
Very interesting. I need to read up on that. That sounds fun.
Yeah. Yeah. I can send you some good articles.
Okay.
There's some good
Thank you.
articles on it. Yeah, of course. Any other predictions?
More education. I think people are going to be more curious about cannabis. So the basic information is going to be something that people out there are looking for as more states are legalizing or contemplating legalization. So get yourself ready, advocates and educators, because that we're about to be really busy. Yeah.
I just thought of something going back to your comment about hemp, this being the year of hemp.
Yeah.
Did you see that they kind of remove some of the advertising restrictions on Google for hemp products.
I did. I saw that. And even the FDA regulating. So all of this to me signals there's going to be a really big something in this 2023 farm bill that is going to really pump up the economy potentially, because with all of those, that's signaling. And then Amazon getting on board to start delivering, and all these big companies, Uber even, I think something is definitely in the works that maybe the public doesn't know about.
Stay tuned.
Yeah. It's just a prediction.
It's just a prediction. Okay. Well, what else do we want to talk about?
That 2022 for weed, I think, was really tough. I think as an industry and just the economy overall, a lot of businesses shuttered their doors or they struggled, especially with the high taxes in California. And I just hope 2023 is a much better year for everyone, especially the people who are in it for the right reasons with really good intentions to impact and create change and affect change. So those are my hopes for the year.
I hate to break it to you. I think 2023 is going to be tough. I think it's going to be kind of like the year where people lean out.
Okay.
And then those that those that survive, those that kind of make it through this year will be kind of like tough contenders, and they'll do well. But I think we'll continue to see a little bit of tough times with the smaller businesses, at least.
Okay. So the blips aren't over, but they're still good to come either way. Yeah. But that's been our 2023 predictions. Of course, we'll be back as the news drops, and let us know what you want to hear about too.
Yeah, let us know.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Peace.